November the 10th, 2025. Guys, a beautiful morning here in central Mississippi. It started out below freezing. Now the real feel is 35. The temperature is 39, and it is sunny. It is going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be cold again tonight, so make sure that you protect your plants and pets and your radiators, things like that, guys. So just keep in mind that we're not quite through this yet, and what's going to happen, it's not going to be as warm today as it was yesterday. So tonight's cooling trend could be harder. In other words, you understand what I'm saying. If it's cold in the daytime, then it drops at night. It's going to be just a little bit colder with a cold front moving in. Now, what you're looking at is not the newest, but next to the newest image of Atlas. And what it came about, and what the subject matter was a couple of days ago, that it was starting to outgas. Now, it's kind of hard to see in this picture. But I can see it. There's one here that's kind of tailing off, and one here. And I'm going to invert it, and that will let you see it just a little bit easier. And people have been asking me, what do you think about that? Is it really a comet? But what we're seeing in this outgassing, guys, is not a cometary tail at all. I've seen too many. You've seen them on the big, beautiful comets. It's very clear. It's not a dim thing hard to see. But what I think we're seeing is, as it's come around the sun, possibly a change in speed and a alternation in course. And that's what that outjetting looks like to me, because that's how rockets do it. This is not a cometary tail. Let me show you something. And again, this is just inverting that image, turning black to white. And you can see, again, the tail here, here, and right in here. You normally you can have multiple tails on a comet, but they're clear and distinct. And one would be an ion tail that would be in the exact opposite direction of the sun. And then you'd have a debris trail, two different trails. And we've seen them many times. But again, this one's a little bit hard to see. And why would it happen right in this section? Let's look at the newest photo. Now, this is the newest image, and right here in this area is where we saw the sudden outgassing. And you can still see kind of the cloud of where that happened right there, guys. But now you're seeing mostly one trail, and here is Atlas. What it looks like to me, guys, when you saw it jetting from all directions, and you've watched space shuttles and, landers and things like that, guys, that that's when you're changing directions, making an adjustment slightly. And then when you see that sudden output like this, it looks like an acceleration of speed. This is not a comet. I've never thought it was, except maybe in the very initial stages. But once we saw some of the other things, no tail, the speed changing, things like that, and looking at the images that we've seen in my last few videos, guys, especially when you get, now this is not an image that I can pull up and look deep into like we did on that thermal image. But again, I'm addressing the debris trail behind it, or whatever it is, the outgassing. That would be the proper term. Now, could it have happened because it came around the sun? Could be, but it just does not look like the normal thing. Again, a lot happened in this area, quietened down, and now we see it's on its journey. So again, I was asked what my thoughts were on what it was doing now with the outgassing. This is what we have. Let's invert this. Now, basically the same thing. Here's your cloud from the initial videos with the different outgassing, which makes perfect sense. And this is what we have now. And there's some streaking in here, but that's also carried through with the stars in some of the other areas here and here. But again, until we get another clear photograph, I'm not sure. But this, again, I was asked what I thought about it, and this is what I'm seeing. Possibly maneuvering here, could be slowing down and are speeding up, but the maneuvering with multiple jets looks like they were altering course. And when I've looked deep into this thing, and we've seen deep, well, let's go back there for a moment. This is the thermal image. So far, I've seen nobody really talk about this one, and I don't know why. Maybe there's something that they don't want you to know. But this is what we saw in the thermal image. This is just one section of it. At that point, this was the lower section, it looks very mechanical, and it looks like these would be part of what I called an ion drive system that we saw NASA start working on, in 69 maybe, something like that. But this is what we have there. What it just did was it not just this section, because if we back it out, remember we were seeing a field in front of multiple objects. And going back, that thermal image that we're just looking at, here's the bottom section of it, and this is what I think is a field, some type of force field or shield, or both. And these are other objects. And that's the other objects that we're seeing, I think, had something to do with maybe the multiple directions of the outjetting. Maybe multiple things were changing direction or speed at the same time. Guys, what some of this is in here, I don't know, but what we did was black it down to black and start bringing up light. The sky's still dark, the stars aren't being seen, you don't see the full circle. But this is what we were seeing, no outgassing out the back. And guys, again, heavily leaning towards this is a object that's been made by, I'm not going to say humans, or this civilization of humans, or this timing of it, I don't know. But this is not a comet. This is something that's traveling. Now it's starting to adjust its speed and possibly adjusting some movement on its direction. Because as it's come around the sun, it would be pointed towards Jupiter, guys. But I showed you in a video a couple of weeks ago that it would not cross Jupiter's orbit when Jupiter was there. Jupiter would have already passed it, and then maybe 1 million miles behind it is where Atlas would cut across it. Now, would the adjustment be to counter that direction or change it slightly because of Jupiter, or for some other reason turning it the other way? I don't know yet. If we could get NASA to release some images, that would be interesting. They don't really want to that much. But there's a lot of things in this image right here, guys, if you study it, that become very apparent that they are not natural. Now, I'm going to pull up the top part just a moment. It almost looks like a space shuttle type, not a shuttle, but a space station type object right here. I don't know what this is back here. Is this part of its ion drive? But again, it's a round cylinder, and it looks like a space station. And it could be, is it a complete group of objects moving all at one time? That's exactly what it looks like to me. And guys, men's hearts will fail them from when they see what's coming down on this planet. And the sky will grow dark. I don't know. Nobody knows. I already have seen that the September 23rd rapture heads are at it again. They lost half their subscribers. They disheartened a lot of people because of their false teachings. So be careful with that, but I see it popping back up again. I've got a pretty good video on it. I may post that back up, going back biblically and looking why it is a lie. But again, multiple objects. Let me pull this over back in here again. Why are these showing when everything is dark, every background object, and we just started bringing the light back up? Look at this. And these, I have no clue. But again, this looks like the main section or a separate object with very powerful outdrive. But, and this could be what would be generating the force field that's out in front of it, that section right there. And it's kind of like the head of the wagon train. Anyway, guys, I was asked about it and I wanted to put my 2 cents in, which aren't worth that much, but I have been doing this longer than anybody on YouTube. So, again, by the time this goes up, we may be live over. I'm still interested in what the Senate's going to do. I know it's boring to a lot of people, but our nation is at stake. And I don't like to be that political until you see demons take over half of the political system and try to destroy the nation. Then it's time to stand up. A lot of people won't do it. It'll hurt their hits on YouTube. They want to stay right in their lane. I can't blame them. But if you care, you need to stand up and speak up. Now let's pull this up to the very top before I end the video, because a couple of you guys pointed it out in a video earlier. So I'm going to bring it up. Again, we darkened out everything, and then objects started appearing. Nowhere else on the screen for millions of miles around this, by the way. Very mechanical looking type objects there, almost like a big cross, but again, there's more to it than that. And then here and here. Why, out of all the darkness that's billions of miles around it, is this the first thing to light up? Again, you saw the thermal image of just the round circle, and thermal means you can't see it with your naked eyes, and sometimes that's why the Vatican telescope is a infrared telescope, and James Webb is infrared, by the way, because they know that the technology is there, guys. And cloaking, everyone's seen it on from going back to Star Trek to other newer movies, I suppose. But cloaking is a very easy thing to achieve in space. The reason why is it's about 2 degrees centigrade, the same temperature that CERN keeps its cryo at. The cryos that keep everything from overheating. That means frigid, cold, cryogenics. And so they have to keep it at about 2 degrees centigrade, which is the temperature of outer space, and right in that area, in order for CERN not to blow up. And what happens is all you would have to do in a series of craft is to drop the temperature a few degrees below that 2 degrees Celsius, and it becomes invisible to the human eye. And that's because of the way that the optics work and the different color bands you have. The human visible range in the whole spectrum of light is a very narrow section. And so if you change, and that has to do with temperature, you go slightly below that, and it's not visible unless you have a James Webb thermal telescope, or one like the Vatican has called Lucifer in New Mexico. And so the Vatican has known about what's coming for a very long time. Why would they build that there? Why is it infrared? Because they know we're not going to be able to see what's coming in at first, right? Or whatever it is. They're watching for something, and the Vatican has been around for thousands of years, and they're responsible for going from nation to nation for hundreds of years, and stealing information and artifacts and books and technology, information like that, and then hiding it in the, I guess, the basement of the Vatican in Rome. But again, why would they build a telescope that could possibly see this? Now, again, this was a ground-based, from Dobsonian Power. He has a ground-based telescope at his home. But being thermal, he was the first one to get an image as it came around the sun. Remember I said that most of the satellites that have the telescopes cannot turn directly to the sun without frying their optics. Well, when you use a thermal telescope, you're not worried about that, because you're not looking necessarily at light, you're looking at heat. But some of these objects, guys, floating around here, to me, are just as interesting. And it's like you see a fleet moving somewhere across the galaxy, or across the solar system, or across the universe. Now, we've seen different objects. This is what they call 3 eyes, supposedly, because it's the third interstellar object. But if you go back and look at Oumuamua, or Oumuamua, and then the other one, I can't remember the name of it, starts with a B, then a lot of that has occurred since CERN has cranked up. Now, I checked CERN today, and they're down because of why? Their cryogenics are running hot, and they had to shut down. That was just about an hour ago. I'll update that this afternoon. But CERN's magnetic field that it emits is 100,000 times more powerful than the Earth's magnetic field. Don't you think that would be something that someone traveling or looking in our direction would pick up? Think about that. Again, we're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.